But since I did see your noted interest in it, Tamla, I figure that the next one I choose to cast, which will be tomorrow, I'll probably be doing one per day. Hey, I'll do CT6 versus TRG. Anyway, now that we're into the game, spawning here in the lower left on Altazim, we have SerLagsaLot for Guns and Roaches, playing as our green Zerg. And playing as our teal Terran up in the upper right, FruitPotato for LA eSports. So, for those who are not necessarily familiar with the Chobo Team League, the Chobo Team League is a league for players anywhere from bronze to diamond. We get together and play some play in a team-based environment, and pretty similar to Pro League actually, except that we actually have more sets per week than Pro League does. Our games are like Pro League, arranged beforehand, with the maps being set at the ending of the week before players are assigned, and then players allowed to be chosen to send out. As well as the maps, however, there are also restrictions as for what leagues players can be in. So there's a game for bronze and silver players, another game for silver players, 3 games for gold players, 2 for platinum, 1 normal game for diamond, and a best of 3 for the ace match, which is between 2 diamond players as well. It's a lot of fun, and if you are not familiar with it, you can feel free to go down to the Chobo Team League website. I'll actually type it in for anyone who's watching my VOD for more information. So, looks like we've got a hatch first on the low ground for our Zerg player. The pool now starting up. And a Reaper being made by our Terran player, as the Zerg has found the Terran player and has a drone in his base to scout what's going on, finds that there's no natural yet. If you've never played on Altazim Stronghold, or you're not that familiar with it, you kind of get a free natural, with this little tiny ramp being the only being the only ground entrance to both your main, this is where you start, and your natural. The only other way to get to the natural is to fly in, other than through the main. Anyway, we have that first Reaper going out, with that drone still kind of running around and scouting and taking occasional hits from an SCV. In the meantime, we have Overlord still being headed across the map for SerLagsaLot, and looks like that Reaper has at least some idea where he should be going. That's right, follow function is broken. So that Reaper has indeed found the Zerg base. A Spine Crawler being morphed in for defense. No Zerglings on the way yet though, just 2 Queens, but Queens pretty good against Reapers. However, that Reaper does get a drone kill. That earlier drone actually having escaped and now waiting out the third. The second Reaper has joined up with the first, and the 2 Reapers are backing off for the moment, having secured 1 more drone kill. These Reapers are going to see if they can take down this Queen, although it takes a few trips, but 2 Reapers can pretty easily take down a Queen. You know, fire at the Queen a bit, back off, let their health regen, and then come back. So Reaper's continuing to being annoying for SerLagsaLot. Looks like that drone finally being sent home. Not sure why he's not just leaving it to scout out for third base timing. Those Reapers now heading back into the base for FruitPotato, but just kind of hanging out by the ramp and finishing healing up for the moment. They are hanging out right under this Overlord, so they are definitely seen, but with only really Queens to defend at this point. No speed for the Zerglings. The Zergling speed just about to finish, and the first 12 Zerglings are going to be timed to come out almost exactly when speed finishes. So it's pretty good for these Reapers that they're backing off a little, but they might well be under the vision of this Overlord. Looks like they did dodge the Overlord, but are now seen by the Lings, which are starting to chase them. Their speed wasn't quite done yet, but now it is. So, we're going to see those Lings come out and find a few Hellions have joined up with those Reapers. And so the Lings back off, but the Hellions and Reapers are also backing off for the moment. 2 more Hellions, so a total of 4 Hellions and 2 Reapers. Going to start trying to control this creep, which is just starting to try to spread for SerLagsaLot. In the meantime, we see a Cloaked Banshee just about to come out back home for FruitPotato, so we're going to see some Cloaked Banshee play. And apparently either this has been scouted or at least predicted, because we do see some Spore Crawlers already coming down for SerLagsaLot. Pretty much shut down that Cloaked Banshee play, but you never know, and it looks like those spores are only in the main, so those Cloaked Banshees can be pretty effective at any base, and may in fact be able to besiege the third or the natural. Hellions still trying to control creep spread, taking down 1 creep tumor, and a lot of health off of these Lings, but I don't even think they got a single kill there, just a lot of health. And maybe they did get a few Lings. But all in all, both players being a little bit reluctant to engage at this point. But that Banshee's coming out. Actually, the first Banshee's already there. That's the second Banshee coming out. And that first Banshee looks like it's just about got the Queen. Yeah, getting a nice Queen kill, and now starting to work on those workers. Now, that Spore Crawler is just about finished, so kind of shut it down, but yeah, it cannot take down the Spore Crawler, so this Banshee's about to go down. Unless it gets out of there. Not very much health left on that Banshee. 2 health for the win, as it goes into the one base that it can still assault, which is the, well, it was taken like it was the natural, although it's really kind of the third. In the meantime, we have these Lings engaging with the Hellions up there. The Lings got by far the better end of that fight. Another Banshee coming in here to the natural, and the Banshee is able to absolutely reign free in the natural right now, targeting down this Queen. There would be very smart to try to target down those morphing Spore Crawlers, but they choose to get out of there rather than try to attack Spore Crawlers. In the meantime, we have the Lings posturing right in front of FruitPotato's base. And SerLagsaLot continuing to make extra Queens to replace the Queens he lost to those at Banshee Harass. SerLagsaLot's Spire is also on the way, and 1-1 just about to finish for Terran. He is making 1-1 infantry, so he is going to go with the typical bio during the initial harass. And his third is now moving into place. Viking hanging out. So some pretty heavy support of your typical bio play. Actually, kind of going mech and bio almost simultaneously. We see the armory coming down. Kind of reminds me of Fantasy's build in Pro League yesterday. I don't know if you watch Pro League, but no, it wasn't yesterday. It was 2 days ago. But anyway, Fantasy had a pretty amazing build when I was watching Pro League. Just a full combination of just about everything that Heron can make. I think about the only thing he didn't make were battle cruisers. Anyway. So, I got these Banshees coming home for repair. In the meantime, And this random overlord getting attacked by this random Viking going around the nice scouting. But the overlord is always a good thing to get. The first Mutalisks are coming in for SerLagsaLot, though, as SerLagsaLot also is morphing in his 4th base. One now on the way for our Zerg player, is 2-2 is on the way for our Terran player, so our Terran player, or FruitPotato, with a significant upgrade advantage at this point, and also with Medivacs on the way. Looks like he's just starting to mass up the typical bio on Marines and using tanks as forward support. So at this point, the Zerg player does have a very significant supply advantage, 40 supply, probably mostly due to that early harass for FruitPotato, although the Banshees were pretty effective. A lot of the rest of the early harass just wasn't that effective. And SerLagsaLot being pretty greedy and able to get away with it so far. So the Zerglings are moving forward, a few Zerglings ahead of the rest of the group to see what's there. And the Zerglings starting to, some of them morphing into Banes, another group of them all getting together. First Mutalisks starting to mass up over in this corner. Well, we have a nice army here, kind of right in front of FruitPotato's base. Those first few lings gonna head in to take a look again to see what's there. I do see some Banshees floating above everything else, but even so, SerLagsaLot, well, he kind of moves forward, he kind of moves back, he decides he's not quite ready to go yet. Those Mutalisks and an Overseer hanging out there now, perhaps going to join up with this army for a big push. Or we're going to try to figure out where they can harass. Not sure what he's going to do with those yet, but probably seems soon. Actually, what they're probably going to do is try to take out this one annoying Viking here who's about to get himself an overlord, though if they don't, so... there goes a Viking. But that Viking has scouted that SerLagsaLot now is a 4th base. Interesting, got this one Marine hanging out here and all the Zerglings hanging out there. Yeah, they take down that Marine pretty easy. Now they start to take some siege tank fire, but continue to run forward. The SimCity really working against them with these siege tanks, able to really bring their fire to bear. The Banelings were some help there, but really that was a very good engagement for our Terran player, taking out a ton of Zerglings. He did lose a few of those siege tanks, but all in all, that was very good for our Terran player. But behind this, SerLagsaLot continues to build more lings, build another queen. Like he's building another base somewhere. Probably must be a macro hatch somewhere. Yeah, macro hatch. There it is. Oh, that's another. Huh. See it in my production tab, but I can't find where the other one is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, adding on a few macro hatches, which makes a lot of sense if you're going as heavy into lings as he is. Anyway, while I was distracted by that, there's a little bit of an engagement with these Mutalisks trying to harass, but now they're running back, so it doesn't seem it was extremely effective for him. Pretty decent creep spread. No Hellions out to fight it anymore, so the creep is continuing to expand across the map. And all of those extremely quick units getting together. 2-2 now on the way for our Zerg player. Our Terran's sitting at 2-2 without 3-3 on the way. But our Terran's still with that significant upgrade advantage. Also has +1 armor for his vehicles, which is Kind of an interesting choice. You usually see +1 weapons if you're going to take one vehicle upgrade, especially with those tanks, as +1 weapons allows siege tanks to one-shot zone. Anyway, so we see a few mutilisks falling to some missile turrets that you get 1 missile turret in exchange, but much better exchange for FruitPotato than for SerLagsaLot. Those mutilisks just not being able to harass and scouting marine getting taken down by the whole army. Another scouting marine here on the but mostly the players are macroing up, preparing their armies. More siege tanks, marines, and medevacs for a Terran player, and more zerglings and mutilisks for a zerg player. +1 flyer attacks on the way, and enduring locusts on the way for a zerg player, which makes a lot of sense with someone going as heavily into bio as FruitPotato is. Our zerg player is now completely maxed out, and also morphing in a hive, so trying to make whatever good use of his money as he can while he's maxed out. Looks like our Terran player is starting to move out and try to chase around these mutilisks, but not really being that successful at doing so, as well. Mutilisks are really fast. Looks like we're going to see some drop play, though. See some medevacs filling up. In the meantime, these mutas are kind of hanging out in the center of the map, and this drop play is going to be scouted by this overlord, so he knows the drop's coming, but he doesn't know where. He's making a 5th base, well actually a 6th base, and a 5th base, so he's double expanding behind it, which, once again, just trying to find ways to use that bank he's going to start to accrue as he is maxed out. Our Terran player also starting to accrue a bit of a bank being nearly maxed out. Anyway, so these medevacs are found by the mutas and taken down well without even unloading a single marine. And that's because of this big engagement coming down out in the center of the map, so we were a bit busy. Zerglings and Banelings coming in, and great Baneling hits the no splitting at all on those marines, so those Banelings doing a really good job. The Zerglings able to take down the tanks after the Banes go down, and after the marines have gone down, and the rest of the marines trying to retreat. No mutas to clean up these air troops yet. Banshee's just being move commanded rather than trying to fire at the army. Anyway, we see more barracks being used as kind of an interesting wall, but it certainly isn't a full wall. But the SimCity does help against those Banes. Those Banshees now actually starting to come into play against these Zerglings that literally chase that attack all the way home. There aren't that many Zerglings or Banelings left, but most of FruitPotato's army went down in that engage with SerLagsaLot almost being maxed out again, sending more reinforcements as this is going on. A few of those Zerglings working on that wall there, and the mutas now coming in to help. Looks like SerLagsaLot is pretty much sending the whole army, knowing that he has the advantage. As the Terran player trying very hard to keep this bunker alive. It's one of his only hopes. Muta's going too far forward into a pile of missile turrets. Muta after Muta starting to fall to missiles, as well as the fire from inside that bunker is fully repaired. Muta's finally dropping back, as well as the remaining Zerglings. But that leaves SerLagsaLot up 60 supply. 3-3 for the Terran is just about to finish, though, as well as... Oh, it was weapons that he took. I mixed up the icon, so he did take the weapons, which is indeed the same one for Terran to take, and he's now taking weapons 2 for his mech units. A few more Banes morphing in, lots of Zerglings running around. SerLagsaLot not being quite maxed out, but I'm sure he'll achieve that quite soon. Now up to a 70 supply lead. He has lost more resources, but this is a 6th base Zerg versus a just now 4th base Terran. Starting to add on those missile turrets to protect that new 4th base. Muta's just hanging out, and everybody just rallying their troops for the next big attack. SerLagsaLot only a little bit away from being completely maxed out on supply. Again, morphing a ton more Banes in. He's actually getting something of a gas bank, which is a little bit odd to see for a Zerg player, but it does happen sometimes when you don't have everyone to. So we see a Thor having joined the army for FruitPotato, and a number of his troops moving out. But in the meantime, the Mutalisks seem to have finally cracked through at least all of those missile turrets. And with the SCVs running, well, they probably could have cracked that bunker, but they didn't quite. Running off to heal up for a minute. In the meantime, some random scout Zerglings being taken out by these Terran forces, but the rest of the army is arriving pretty quickly. Those first Speedlings are just going to fall for pretty much free, though. Just not enough of them to do anything against the Terran Marines. And once the Marines get picked up, well, actually it didn't get picked up, get cleaned up by Banelings, but the Mutalisks are now here to try to fight out in the air, though, and looks like they're going to get these Banshees for free. Those Banshees still hanging out. No, they actually back off, which surprises me. I figured they would have at least finished off the Banshees. They probably took them before the Marines were dropped. But anyway, okay, so all those Marines and Marauders being dropped again here in the 4th base. I believe that was the 4th. Anyway. Okay, so the ground troops are now moving in for our Zerg player. All those Banelings not really trading extremely efficiently, as there are just, you know, pretty good splitting on those Marines from those drops, but even without efficient trades, our Zerg player was way ahead in supply and continues to be way ahead in supply. But with no observer here, this Cloak Banshee might be able to get some damage done. Oh, there was a Spore Crawler there, so just kind of hiding behind the Queen in the base, which is why the Queen was able to actually attack. In any case, our Terran player getting together another group of troops and our Zerg player already remaxed. 3-3 on the way for a Zerg player, as well as what he remaxed with was in fact Ultralisks. Chitin is aiding also on the way to support those Ultralisks. As well as +3 weapons for our Terran player for mech units. So our Terran player is moving out and going to find these Ultralisks now. Titan's planning in 3-3 isn't done for those Ultralisks yet, but Ultralisks with a few Banes are still pretty scary for that small of a Marine force. And there's those Mutalisks coming in to perhaps try to deal with those Medivacs. Mutalisks hanging back, being safe for a bit, and letting those Ultras do the work. Ultras and Banes pushing the Terran back into the base again. But at the same time, we have a drop going down at the 6th base, 5th or 6th. They happen at the same time anyway. They have one of the extended bases here. Those drones running in exactly the wrong way and just getting massacred by Marines. Marines continuing to chase down the drones as 2 of them still continue to harass the base. They're not going to get that base. Zerg players, ground forces coming in to save the day, save those last few drones, and go on their way. In the meantime, our Terran player actually has a surprisingly massive bank for being 50 supply less than max. So, FruitPotato, if you're watching this, really, look at that bank, look at your supply. You need more stuff, man. Anyway. So we see all these Ultralisks continuing to move out. Chitinous Carapace and, well, +3/+3 just about to finish, and Chitinous Plating being done for them. So we're going to have completely full upgrade Ultras as well as a number of Zerglings and Mutalisks coming in pretty soon. FruitPotato trying to establish a 5th base, but exactly the wrong time as he's about to see this pile of Zerg troops. I mean, it's mostly ground, but there are the Mutalisks to take it out of the air if they need to. In fact, they're kind of already in position to do so. At the meantime, this Barracks wall is being assailed by Zerglings and Ultralisks. Ultralisks will be able to work through this pretty quick. Their DPS is pretty high. But the wall is serving to allow those Marines to take down a number of those Zerglings, being pretty much entirely Ultralisks. But Ultralisks and Banelings not getting in. My computer not being quite fast enough to take all the carnage. Base being lifted off, but already burning. Things are not looking good for FruitPotato as our Zerg player is getting a good move in. Now, this Banshee will slowly work away at these Ultras, with the Mutas not being quite in position to help. And I'm not sure whatever happened to those Mutas, where they went out there. They're over on this side of the fight. So it looks like he will be able to save this base, just barely able to repair it, but this base is not, this 5th base is not going to be established. In the meantime, though, our Terran player is actually getting very close to equaling the supply. So our Zerg player losing a ton of Zerglings, but looking to mostly remax on drones and take another base. Kind of interesting. So that's how many bases? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 bases for our Zerg player. And now taking an 8th. So our Zerg player has just taken his 8th base in this long macro game here on Alterzine. Both players pretty much near supply maxed. The Terran pretty much maxed on upgrades. Well, at least maxed for attack upgrades for his mech units and all upgrades for bio. Whereas our Zerg player has 3/3 melee carapace and +1 flyer attack. +2 flyer attack now on the way, and a queen for that new base. Anyway, our Terran player with a number of troops moving out. Looks like might see another good army engagement soon. Yep, looks like you're going to assail this. I believe this was the 7th, 8th, I don't know, 7th base. This is the 7th base for our Zerg player. Anyway, it looks like the Terran's going to assail this base. However, the Zerg army is actually in position to defend and is moving in. Looks like they are going to get the snipe on this base, but let's face it, SerLagsaLot has more bases than he needs. So, it's not necessarily worth a lot other than those few minerals. Those Widow Mines actually getting some pretty good hits off, but Widow Mines not extremely effective against Ultralisks. However, Masked Marines is pretty effective against only a few Ultralisks. The other Ultralisks having moved back for whatever reason. Perhaps the micro being more interesting over here as the Terrans attempt to take another 4th base being thwarted by Zerglings leaders. So he did indeed finish off this base and the army that had come to attack him, so it was a pretty good pickup for FruitPotato. 3/3 Marines, man. They can do some work. We have another small squad down here for FruitPotato. Looking to attack this base. This base having pretty much nothing at it, though. Not even a single drone at this base currently. Looks like this little squad is going to be looted because, well, other than the Widow Mines, I have nothing that can shoot them. between the mutas and flying over a spore crawler. That little drop harass force is cleaned up. The game was actually recovered from replay at that point. Doesn't really delay our casting, but I'm sure it was annoying for the players when it happened. So at the same time, our Terran player trying for yet more drop harass, and this burning command center getting pretty low, but now being repaired. You can repair command centers while they're flying if you're a Terran player and don't know that. Just like you can repair air flying units. So our Terran player once again trying to expand beyond his initial 3 bases, sending 2 command centers out this way. And we're getting some pretty great creep spread across, you know, it's almost a good third of the map covered in creep at this point, and that includes a highway almost all the way into the Terran area. And at that same time, another drop going down by the 8th base of SerLagsaLot. That 8th base is not going to stand. Zerglings coming in to try to clean up some of the drop forces. They mostly get picked off. And a great Widow Mine hit. So that drop harass doing very good for FruitPotato. Another little engagement going on over here, trying for another drop on this side, getting pretty much completely shut down by the mutas. We're in place for that one. Meanwhile, this drop harass crew is getting healed up and preparing for their next attack, having taken down that 8th base. In the meantime, they're standing next to a base that SerLagsaLot is planning on taking, as you saw that show up, but it's not going to work very well if just the drone moves over. Yeah, there's the drone. No army in sight. So we're going to see that drone. Actually, I don't even know where the drone is coming to that base, so that's the one that's actually going to reestablish its original. There goes that drone. Anyway, so we have the mutas trying to prevent this fourth from happening once more, getting pushed back by that large army. Perhaps they're going to find this attempt at a 5th base. Yeah, they fly right over it, being on move command. Yeah. Scan going down somewhere on the map. Over here. We're going to work on that creep a little and getting an overlord for free. In the meantime, that Widow Mine still being placed there at the 8th base, still being annoying. Now these mutas have discovered what they were move commanded past and start to attack this 5th base. Mules being dropped to try to emergency repair the base, but that's not going to work. Looks like this base is going to go down. He's going to lose the CC. In the meantime, Neo Steel Frame being researched, probably just because he's got nothing better to do. So this little drop crew trying to take down these mutas, and 3-3 Marines are pretty good against mutas with absolutely no carapace upgrades, so these mutas are going to have to run. Along with that Overseer. In the meantime, the Zerg ground force has decided to take down this 4th base and been pretty successful. Not quite dead, but flying and burning as the Zerg ground force continues to chase this Terran ground force back into its original 3 bases. And our Terran player has absolutely no mining going on right now. I believe he has in fact completely mined out. Well, he has a lot of Vespene left, but he has those minerals and his original bases and everything being mined out. In the meantime, the We have the Zerglings and that large block of Ultralisks coming in to take down this Terran base once more. This one is now landed, but is still burning and not being repaired by that mule. Scumbag mule, repair the base! Anyway. Things are looking pretty dire for FruitPotato. He's trying to build something else, maybe another CC, I don't know. Oh, he's building a few more Marines and Marauders, that makes sense. And this base that was originally the third is now trying to fly out and become the fourth. After all, no reason to have it sitting there, and he's a little short on CCs at the moment. Which means I hope he does finally realize that this one needs to be repaired, and this one mule repairing this base, I'm not sure it'll be enough to get it to stop burning, though. We need to get that other mule to repair as well. But anyway, that one mule mining is literally his only income right now, at least until his base lands. SerLagsaLot just with a gigantic bank by this point, 5k, 3.5k, and completely maxed out. Our Terran player trying some more drops. Not sure how well that's going to work out with those mutas and ultras, and you know, the entire Zerg army is where this drop is. This isn't going to work so well. And now they find a Spore Crawler, start dropping some things, but one medevac goes down with most of the troops still in it, one medevac goes down mostly unloaded, but there just aren't that many troops, and the whole Zerg army is here. And that, you know, it may seem somewhat insignificant, but it's actually pretty significant as, well, look at FruitPotato's minerals. 96, man. He's pretty much been starved out by the Zerg at this point. Now, he has landed those two bases. He does still have 7 SCVs. Yes, 7 SCVs. Now, he does still have orbitals who can continue to call down mules, but 7 SCVs is not good. Like, trying again to get something done with some drop play, but being chased down by these Zerg forces once more. Here's pretty much the rest of his army, and other than that very slow mining, it's pretty much all he's going to have, so things are really dire for FruitPotato at this point, especially with SerLagsaLot able to, you know, immediately remax no matter what happens. I mean, look at that bank, look at that supply. Really, this game's almost over at this point, unless something really crazy happens. Yeah, the base list to save itself. Most of those, that's actually very significant. All but one of the remaining SCVs just went down. There is a total of 1 SCV for FruitPotato. 1. Where is that SCV anyway? Yeah, here it is, just hanging out over here by this empty base. Yeah, that's the last SCV. Zoom in on him a little. That is the last SCV. So, yeah, things are looking pretty dire for our Terran player. He's down 70 supply. He can't really establish new bases. He's got 2 bases, which he could, you know, one of them halfway mined out, one of them brand new with all the mules mining at it. That's his only income with those mules. The Zerg player can probably take that out as soon as he scouts at those. His army's way down here instead of up there defending the base. They have those mutas just kind of hanging out. Those mutas, if they head right over there, it could pretty much spell the end of the game for FruitPotato at this point. But, gotta give him credit. He's hanging in there. He's using those mules. He's up to 800 minerals. He's certainly doing his very best to stay in this game. Because he's played a great game so far. He has no idea how much of a massive bank this Zerg player has. He has no idea, how behind he really is. So I gotta give him credit. He is doing his very best. And that is commendable. Looks like most of those mules have finished up for the moment. Whole Westeros for some Broodlords. Yeah, Broodlords might have been a decent idea for SerLagsaLot trying to get them out, but, you know, this way is working for him. He does finally get the mutas up to that base, takes out both the mules mining and the base. One more nail in the coffin. You know, that's one less mule, 3 less of those deployable SCVs. That's actually very important as well. I mean, his income is... how many CCs does he even have? He has that orbital flying for whatever reason. He has 3 orbitals. And the mule's coming out of his orbitals. And like I said, there's one SCV, one real SCV. It's now been rallied over here. It actually, I believe, is probably like trapped in the base, trying to get over there or something. I don't know. Yeah, there's one SCV. There can be only one. So FruitPotato's still trying it, though. Still trying more drop play. As SerLagsaLot has established more bases, literally taking his half of the map, other than this base, which was knocked down at one point. But this base is technically not on his half of the map, so... He's got bases everywhere, man. Just ignoring this base, flying by. These SCVs just kind of flying over top of all these Zerglings. Another little engagement going on over here on the edge of the creep. As Muta's just run away from some Marines, basically. SerLagsaLot says, "Take all the bases!" And all the bases are taken. Like, literally. Like, everything except for this and this that he could take. You know, there's that. Take all the bases! At the very least, those will allow him to scout if the Terran tries to take any bases. But like I said, I really got to give FruitPotato credit for hanging in there and trying, because, yeah, you see an infestor throwing a fungal down on these random troops at the edge of creep. I'm really wondering why SerLagsaLot doesn't just attack. I mean, he can always remax. He's actually 11 supply down of his max. I don't know why he hasn't remaxed. Maybe he's just focusing more on taking every base on the map. I mean, you know... No, it's good to see FruitPotato continuing to try, but at this point, this game was over 10 minutes. He keeps trying, you know, he's throwing scans between creep, which seems really strange when he's in such a dire resources situation. He still hasn't rebuilt any SCVs, he's just got that one SCV. Can't build more troops, he's down to 115. Continuing to lose bits of troops, he's going to lose this sort of contingent. And every time he loses something, he can't rebuild stuff. He's got 1,800 minerals now, but it's not that much. Drake can build a ton of Marines with it, but he's not building a ton of Marines with it. He's just kind of hanging out on his money, which is interesting. He's not actually building stuff with that little bit of money he has. At the very least, just build some SCVs, man. That's base yet. But no, he's choosing to move forward with troops he already has now. Now he's actually getting a few more Medevacs and Widow Mines. Widow Mines actually somewhat makes sense. He's actually gotten a lot of use out of his Widow Mines this game. And even retaking this base. SerLagsaLot literally taking pretty much every base on the map at this point. Why? Because he can. See no reason not. A few Marines trying to prevent this base from coming down for whatever reason. It's not like he doesn't have enough. They do, in fact, get a cancel in the base. But I mean, at this point, one Marine is probably worth one base, comparatively. His supply is, you know, remaining about equal. He's rebuilding about as much as he's losing in these little skirmishes. SerLagsaLot's still just, you know, choosing not to really move forward. Perhaps just having, you know, too many drones still on the map and choosing to continue to mine with his drones. He's still got 56 drones. That's a lot for this point in the game. When he's got that much of a bank, it might be smart for him to start turning drones into more static defense and using the food supply for more attacking forces. Anyway, this drone was trying to take this base. You see this drone up here. You sent a drone up to try to take this base too, but the Terran base was already there, the one mining base of our Terran player, and he moved back to defend it, being able to push back these mutas. He still hasn't added any more Muta upgrades. He's only got +2 flyer attack. You know, you've been using him a lot. You probably really should have remembered to finish up his Muta upgrades. Anyway. So now that Zerg ground army moving out, those Ultras and Zerglings moving up to try to take down this last mining base of FruitPotato. Losing a few Zerglings for free as the army actually moves away from the base and out of position. those Widow Mines are really doing work, getting a number of good Zergling kills, and the base just lifts up, but mutas are here to make that not all that effective. The ground army moves forward to try to attack the Terran ground army as these mutas take down this base, one of the last orbital commands, and that's really important because some of the last income FruitPotato had. Now, these Widow Mines being super effective against all those Zerglings. A lot of Zerglings went right down. But these Ultralisks continuing to work at it. The Marines are able to take down all these Ultralisks, but this is coming at pretty significant cost. Now only 69 supply remaining. He actually has a good number coming back to bring himself back up to 82, but SerLagsaLot immediately remaxes because there's no reason he shouldn't be able to. He's got every base on the map. He's got all the money in the world. Just more Zerglings and a ton more Ultras. Send them out there. Literally, he could just keep throwing troops at the Terran troops, just to keep A moving. That's all he really needs to do at this point. Not the Terran troops trying to take down one of these bases, but, it's like it matters. I mean, look. Bases. Yeah, we'll start cycling through bases. See? Bases everywhere as this engagement continues to go down. Zerglings and just being thrown into this Terran bio ball. Not really taking down that many thanks to all those medevacs. Where are the mutas to take down the medevacs? Now that's the question. Most of the Terran bio ball is still alive after all of that because these medevacs, man, they're just there's almost one medevac per non-medevac unit at this point. That allowing these Terran troops to just stay alive forever. But the mutas, rather than attacking them, are in fact trying to gonna go take down this orbital. I believe this may actually be FruitPotato's last orbital. Nope, he's got one more. But after taking down that and one more orbital, there's going to be nothing left. There's going to be no way for FruitPotato to do anything. He's going to have one SCV and 70 minerals. All these troops coming over, but why are you bringing Marauders? What are you doing with all those Marauders against mutas? Marauders don't fire up. Probably just sending what troops he had available. The one SCV! It is done! The one SCV has died. The one lonely SCV. Now these Terran troops have taken down a few of the bases, including when he's actually mining. However, taking down these drones is almost going to do SerLagsaLot favor, allowing him to get even more troops to attack with. And he is sending his troops after all these Terran troops. Which is probably a pretty smart plan, especially... Oh, the mutas are going to intercept the medevacs. Finally take down those medevacs, the last saving grace that has allowed these troops to stay alive so long. Starting to drop off the troops, but there's a lot of mutas, and there just aren't a lot of troops left. The mutas are still backing off. They could probably take that fight at this point. There's the ground troops to start to buffer for those mutas, and the mutas come right back in. This is definitely going to be the last of days for FruitPotato. He's got nothing else left. He has moved that one remaining orbital he had over to that fourth base, but he's pretty much out of troops at this point. He's got one Marine left here that can, fire up. The medevacs have run away, but the rest of this whole troops that was forward is now dead. I think a few of them might have escaped in those medevacs, but yeah, I think that's actually the troops he rebuilt. But anyway, that's FruitPotato's supply. Really, that's what he's got. SerLagsaLot can continue to remax anytime he wants. He's, his bank is down to 8,800. Down to. Now, his Widow Mines continue to do good work. There just aren't enough overseers around. But, every troop lost is one he's not getting back. He's got no money. No money. What's his income? That's his income. 3 mules that were stored up in that one orbital he's got left. That's the only orbital he's got. All he's got for income is 1 mule. basically. You know, he's got those 3 mules mining right now, but in the long run, he's got 1 mule of income. That's it. Because you can constantly have 1 mule on the map. And that's his army. Still not sure why he's still in this game. Trying to do what he can with this little army. And there's, you know, SerLagsaLot's far superior army just hanging out back here. Ton of infestors now coming up to join up. Plus 3 flyer attacks finally on the way for him, and yeah, some flyer carapace as well while I was paying more attention to other things. So his little troop is trying to make a last stand here at this last mining base he's got left. It's even his last orbital. He's now actually making SCVs out of it, finally getting some more workers. But really not going to do him any good. Not when this force is coming out. This is the last. This is what he's got left. What has he got left? Oh, Widow Mine. And lots of... Oh, I see. He did pick up his troops for the moment. Looks like he's going to have to do a pickup again, otherwise. Yep. Lost a few more of those Baneling hits. Those Mute is cleaning up the last bits. That's his last orbital command. It's about to be revealed. He has no way to build, no way to do anything. The game is definitely over. No question about it. Taking down all those last medevacs. Really, these Mute is throwing themselves away at these missile turrets, but there's just nothing left. Got a 28 supply. It's going to be revealed in a moment. Yep. His Mutas are backing off for the moment, but that's what he's got left, man. He finally admits, I can't win this. Still not leaving the game, though. SerLagsaLot thought he was going to lose. Can't see why. He played great. But gotta love seeing the good banter and, you know, just the general enjoyment of most Chobo League players, because even after a, you know, long, hard-fought game like that, we're still joking around with each other. Always great to see. Good game, well played is finally called.